Ah, nice. Good to see you, brother.
Hey, from one legend to another, dude. Do you know? Like, I've been a fan of your work forever, right? So I was the white kid driving around with the New Jack City soundtrack playing my junior year of high school. Like, I mean,
I know that kid.
yeah, that's been me forever. But like, I have to say, it took me 40 years to realize your initials are MVP. How ridiculous is that?
And that wild?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's outstanding. But getting right to it here, being Black History Month, it's a month we highlight Black excellence. How do I not highlight the godfather of Black cinema, your father, Melvin? What a talent he was, man. I wanted to ask you, um, what do you miss most about your dad?
We had some really good conversations. And I miss that, someone who's smart but is lived in, who gets the joke of humanity, and understands that good allies come in all colors. And that was big with him. We traveled all around the world. He never let the isms, lookism, sexism, racism, classism make him bitter, because that would mess up your art. And just a fun dude that had a broad reach. And we had so much diversity in my family that I grew up having to love like this, not like that.
Right.
My gay aunt, my aunt who's a trumper, my family is white, family is black, family is brown, family is this. And so it gave me a sense of the interconnectivity of us all, right, in my own uh, family tree.
Yeah, and your son Mandela, what a talent he is. He's played some awesome parts in Saw and Mayor of Kingstown, some really memorable roles. What is it that you wanted to make a point of as he's growing older that you wanted to pass on to him? I'm not talking like father stuff or stuff father son, but as far as acting, as far as movie making, because I know your father Melvin passed on a lot to you. What did you want to make a point of passing to him?
There are a couple of things that I've said a few times where, I said the three loves, career wise, love what you do, love and enjoy the folks you do it with,
Hmm.
and what you say with your work. And if those three chakras line up, then you're sort of rich no matter what the paycheck is. And
Mm.
so I think that's a big one. I think um, enjoying your time here. We're gonna go. My dad always said, he joked, and so we have these numbers. He said the number four. There's four phases in your life if you're lucky as an actor, filmmaker. There's Mario who? Give me Mario. Give me a young Mario and Mario who? Yeah. So
Mm.
make some movies that make us think a little bit, entertain us, but maybe give you a little edutainment too. And that's something I wanted with Outlaw Posse, was have fun with all the Western stuff, which I do. I'm a boy at heart. But also there are things that were happening in 1908 that are reflected now. As the French say, le plus ça change, le plus ça reste le même. The more things change, the more they stay the same. So
Mm.
there were things we could play with and deal with that you go, oh shit, that's kind of going on right now. That's relevant right now. You think we're divided now. We were way more divided then, and we overcame it. We
Right.
figured it out.
Yeah.
We can do that again.
Mara, what's insane is a couple months ago I did a presser for Bass Reeves, true story about Bass Reeves, famous African American. They say he's the real life Lone Ranger, right? Talk about whitewashing, and John had kind of said this. I like what you did with this. Like it's fun, but it's like I started thinking, my dad and I bonded to all these westerns. I started thinking, I can't remember African Americans in a lot of these movies. And I want to say the statistic is like 3 out of 4 or half of, if you look at it's so insane, Mario. Like, I'm like, I can't come, like, have I become an idiot? I'm like, no, because I know that it just wasn't portrayed that way through Hollywood.
Yeah.
Am I onto something there?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the thing is, even the name cowboys, black men were called boys no matter what their age was. It's sort of a derogatory thing. So, given the crappy jobs, so take care of those horses, boy. Take care of the cowboy. And where'd those cowboys go? Now, when Hollywood started to glorify cowboys, then they brought in white actors to play even historically black cowboys.
Hmm.
White guys like being called Rough Riders, which is a cool name. Um, but just like kind of like boxing, we knew the boxers look like Tyson and Ali, but if you do it long enough and showing them as Rocky, it doesn't mean you don't have Rocky Marciano. You do, but you start to misrepresent what the real history was.
Right.
And that's why one of the things in Outlaw Posse is that I wanted to make sure that you see the actual picture of the real people at the end. So before women could vote, there was badass sisters like, Stagecoach Mary, who had her own stagecoach line going up through Montana.
Right.
Woman. And Whoopi Goldberg plays her, and at the end you go, wow, we didn't glamorize her at all. We played her like she looks.
Yep. Yep.
And you go, you'll meet Jack Johnson and his lovely wife, and you'll meet. So that's part of the fun is going, oh wow, the diversity of the Wild Wild West was really there. It's just that that we didn't see it portrayed that way. In fact, at the time in the 50s, especially, white guys even played the Native Americans, so they put on a little red paint.
I mean, John Wayne played Genghis Khan. How insane is that?
So, it was kind of open season. If you were a person of color in a Western, you were either dead or marginalized. And in Outlaw Posse, I wanted to show some of the women, Edward James Olmos, of course, white folks. And what I wanted also was the fun of having a conversation, having fun in a film that starts a conversation that people might not be comfortable with starting at a cocktail party.
Right.
You go, when's the last time you saw Butch and Sundance rob a bank?
Right.
They're imposters and one's black.
Right. Right.
You don't see that every day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great point. And you bring up another good point. Like, I feel like I enjoyed this movie a great deal, but I didn't feel it was preachy or like I was getting hit in the head with something. Like, I enjoyed a movie that was reflective of what the times reflected and reflective of just a good flick.
Yeah, and that's the fun of it is that make the gumbo with love. If you want to, send a message, go to Western Union. You're making a movie. Entertain us. Let's have some fun. Let's rock and roll. And Martin Luther King said, we either all learn to live together in harmony as brothers and sisters, or we perish together as fools. And I think in a Western, man, we all enjoy this thing together. Bring your expectations down low. Get your beer out. Get your popcorn out. Have fun. And people are going to laugh no matter where they're from. And we made it with love for everyone. So whether you are a fan of John Carroll Lynch or Emmett Walsh or Cedric the Entertainer or DC Youngfly or Edward James Olmos or Mario Van Peebles, you'll get all those flavors, and that's part of the fun of this is that we're making a movie. It's not a film. It's a freaking movie. It's
That's
a
right.
Western.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I got to say, Mario, I watched John, when I watched John Carroll Lynch on the movie or a show, I'm like, if I watch the Oscars, I'm like, this guy can outact 90% of these people. Like, he is he might be the most underrated actor, I think, working today. And that's no cheap shot to anybody. But all this man does is like kick ass. That's all he does. That's his thing.
And the thing is, he's so authentic, and he can turn the corner from baddie to goodie and back again.
Like it's nothing. Like it's nothing.
And make it absolutely make sense. And that was so fun here to say, here's this guy who's kind of the enforcer, who's got the responsibility of, looking out for Queenie as best he can.
Right.
But he also loves animals. He's like, ain't an animal lied to me yet. And you're the only I trust that's still alive.
Yeah.
And so I write things with sort of, images in mind. Like I thought of Mike Tyson, who could whip anyone's ass and yet had this real love for pigeons.
Right.
Pigeons. And, Johnny Cash and the boy named Sue song, and writing it with this sort of idea about this estranged father-son dynamic where maybe at the end the son sort of grows into seeing the father. Like Mark Twain said, all my life my father was an idiot, but at 21 he was a genius. That maybe there's some sort of family evolution in that. And who better to play it than a guy who's been practicing being my son most of his life.
You were years ahead of the times, because I feel like Posse, the first, I guess, a version years ago was so underrated and so good. I feel like you've been ahead of the curve for a while now, my friend.
Brother, I've been, that's the fun thing about doing independence. It's like you don't wait for the crowd.
Right.
And it's also the bad thing is that we're doing this independent. We don't have, I made the movie I wanted to make in Outlaw Posse, but we don't have big Marvel money. You're not going to see huge billboards everywhere. And so it's word of mouth and interviews with guys like yourself. So thank you for taking talk to me, man, because
Yeah, it's a really good movie, and it looks good too. It doesn't look like it like looks good. It's got a solid look. It's got a good feel to it. It's great, man. Couple more questions, and thank you for this. Just a quick question on New Jack City, Chris. Would you say that?
I'm just saying.
Oh, would you say that's Chris Rock's breakout movie or no?
Would I say that Chris is what?
Would you say that's Chris Rock's breakout movie as Pookie?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think Chris thinks so. Look, this dude just joined me.
There he is.
Come on, sit down, Mandela. Yeah, I think so. You know, Chris jokes about how he still goes down, you know, when he goes down the street, people go, "Yo, Pookie, I got something for you." You know?
Yeah,
But part of what that was, though, was that it was the jujitsu of saying in a gangster movie, let me not just have you connect emotionally with the gangster, which is usually what happens. You think of Godfather, you watch 2.5 hours of a guy with family values and you connect with him. But in New Jack City, you connect with the cops, but you also, I think this is the first in a gangster movie, connect with the victim. Therefore, the crime is not victimless.
right,
Because when
right.
you start to get addicted to crack, we don't glorify crack in any kind of way. Hey man, he was talking. He said, "You seem like you're pretty good in the movie, dude."
Yeah, you're terrific in the movie. You're a terrific in Mayor of Kingstown. Like I had a couple of Mayor of Kingstown guests on. You're dude, you've got a great career going for yourself.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I got to tell you, there's a scene where your dad takes off his shirt in the movie. He's like ripped. Like I won't even take off my shirt at the beach. Your dad's like shredded. He's like shredded. Like what is going on? Or like you guys like what is up? Mandela, quick question for you. What are your thoughts of getting to work with your dad? How
You seen the episode of SpongeBob where you inflate the arms?
What's it like working with your dad, Mandela? How fun is that?
It's a good time. It's a good time for sure. We get a lot of practice being father and son, so this role was a lot of fun to play. I would say getting to work with him on set as not only the director but actually having scenes with him and in those scenes playing his son, that's a pretty special moment. So I think that you throw in some revolvers, you throw in some horses and the beautiful, backdrops and landscapes of Montana. We had a great time. At least I did. And
Yeah,
I think the movie reflects that. I think people, when they go see it on March 1st, I think they'll have a good time.
Yeah, and the thing is too is like you got to go in there when you do an indie like this, rough and tumble. You got to go in there with everyone knowing what they're doing, so that when in that bank robbery sequence, I don't
mm,
want to anyway, but there's no edits. It's one shot. And so that means when he's got to ride out on his horse to rescue Pop, I need him to be there. You know what I
mm.
mean? There's no time to F around. So everything's got to work. People have to know. Not only does he have to like me, his horse has to like me. You know, and so it means everyone's got to go in there cooking. And people like John Carroll Lynch did it. DC Youngfly, typically he doesn't play this kind of role. Going to this kind of character and making sure that all these people from different whose superpowers are coming from different places are all in the same movie.
And it's scary because the scenes with Mandela, I'm like, did they de-age Mario? Like, what's going on here? Like, you guys look so much alike. You are almost like twins. Like, I feel like I'm not looking at father and son. I feel like I'm looking at brother and brother. Like, it's insane. The last thing I want to say was, it is, I know Whoopi has her views politically. She does her thing. That's fine. But it's kind of ridiculous that she's not in more things. Because I'm so happy you cast her in this. Like, this is a woman who has been nominated for 2 Academy Awards, won one. How does she just like? I mean, maybe it's her choice. I should say that, but I feel like she should be in more projects. She's super talented. This cast is so diverse, and I don't mean just by skin color or nationality. I mean just who you decided would play what is so much fun. That's a great. The whole thing is great. But just anything you wanted to say on that, Mario or Mandela?
Yeah, well, that was the cool scene because we both got to be in the scene with her, where Stagecoach Mary basically says, did you know your dad? Did you know your pop? Because we couldn't legally have black fathers before 1863 because the slave owner made all the decisions for the offspring, for the
Mm,
kids. So
mm,
you couldn't legally even be a father. So we've only had since 1863, 1865, if you're in Texas, to get your father game going. And the Van Peebles family has a pretty strong paternal lineage and maternal as well. And so when she talks about that, she said, do you know your dad? And I said, well, yeah, they hung him for teaching me how to read.
mm.
They told me to call some old guy, a white guy, a priest father. and someone else master, and told me that I had to take the master's last name. And I figured with all them bullshit laws, I was going to grow up to be an outlaw for sure. Because when the laws are just, the just are outlaws. And that's the tagline of the movie. And it
Right.
was cool. Whoopi could do that kind of stuff, so easily. And with my real son up there, it just made it all feel, really, really very authentic because we're not faking the love. We're not faking the dynamic here at all. That's real.
And your reputation, being a collaborative director, I feel like is known, and I feel like it does you so much service. Like it's almost like if you were a coach in the NFL, like Belichick wants to hear from his assistants. Well, when he was working, that's the way it's got to be. Like I hear these stories about directors that are like, "This is my show." I'm like, "What are you doing? Like you're cutting off your nose to spite your face."
Right, totally. And they're people that are smarter than you. They're going to bring ideas, including this dude. I'll say, go, I'll do a couple of takes the way I think, and then I'll say, just Mandelify, and he'll go sprinkle some magic on it, bring some geniosity. Like right now in this interview, you're in essence directing the interview.
Right.
I didn't know the question you were going to ask, right? You
Right.
didn't get a preset question.
Mhm.
So my best acting is reacting. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So filmmaker, I'll set it up and say, okay, we're going to get the sunset and we got some really beautiful dynamic shots. But within the context of that, I've got to know that everyone really knows their character, and then whatever happens, we're going to all react in character and we'll find the magic and trust that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what did you think of the cast, Mandela, and everything I've been asking your dad? What's your input on all that stuff?
Well, I can only speak on what I've heard since I've walked in, but sounds like some good stuff.
Yeah.
It sounds like, I think what's special about Outlaw Posse is, although it's set in, the West back in the day, we're still discussing all the same issues that are still relevant today. So
Yeah.
whether it's the Native American chief saying, "Close up the mountain after you take the gold. We don't want people lusting after it because that's bad for the earth." So we still have the conversations today, the same, global warming, stuff like that. The Baker Brothers scene, I think that's a great one. I know, originally ran along, but I'm glad that got to stay in because I think people in power systematically either allowing or actively putting in place laws that marginalize, true Americans is unfortunate. I think that's a conversation we need to have more, and I think that we can have it while watching an entertaining film. I think that's special. But even like you said, the scenes with Whoopi, that was her first film back in like a really long time, and I think that's a special one. At that time, women weren't even allowed to vote, and things have changed so much, but at the same time, so little. We still have so much of the same conversations, but knowing her character is based off of a real character, a real person who did her thing way back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to clarify, I didn't cast Whoopi. She cast herself. What was it? Oh yeah, I'm playing Stagecoach Mary. Just so we're clear. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got to tell you, this movie works on so many levels. And Mandela, I told your dad, this movie doesn't feel preachy or anything like that. It's just so much fun. People ask me, I was telling John, like, what do I compare it to? It's kind of like a little Blazing Saddles, got a little dirty dozen in it, right? It's got little touches of little things, but like it's just so enjoyable. At the end of the movie, you find yourself happy, which is what movies are supposed to do for you. So I liked it a lot, and I like the two of you. You guys make a great team. I hope we see more projects from the two of you.
Thank you, Ben. Well, I'm really glad to hear you say that. It's nice to see, you do something with love and say, let's make this gumbo with love. And you get some smart people involved and you say, well, let's see how it lands. And so that's good, really good news, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I loved your character at the beginning where he's kind of in the shadows. He just wants a drink. You guys are ruining his buzz. What a fun character to play. But guys, thank you very much. March 1st, great movie, Outlaw Posse. Thank you for this. I appreciate it, boys. Thanks.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.